If you're on the fence about working with an advisor or just generally curious, this episode is your backstage pass to making the most of your retirement game plan.
It's another episode of Power Your Retirement. Walter Storholt here alongside Steve Smith, certified financial planner. And Steve is the author of the book, Power Up Your 401k, which you can check out by going to powerupyour401k.com. We are continuing our 7-part series on the 7 principles of Powerhouse Financial Advisors. Of course, the company that Steve runs to help employees of publicly traded utilities better prepare for retirement and experience success in their financial lives. And in this 3rd part, we're going to be talking about the value of professional guidance. And Steve, this is certainly a little bit of a look behind the scenes of how you help people, but whether it's you or someone else that people ultimately seek advice from, we really just want to highlight today how important it is to have someone objective in your life, pointing you in the right direction, giving you honest feedback, and all those sorts of things, right?
Yeah, having the retirement plan is just the first step. The behavioral portfolio management and the behavioral management of our emotions is really that ongoing day-to-day, season-to-season overcoming that we need to do.
Yeah. What are the biggest issues when somebody doesn't have that outside guidance when it comes to preparing for their financial futures? Where are they having those oops moments? Where are they having those challenges and struggles? And what mistakes are they making when they're doing the DIY method?
I would say fear is probably the number one thing that people have a hard time deciphering between what's real and what's fear, just the fear itself. What is the acronym for fear? Finding evidence, false evidence appearing real. That's what it is. False evidence appearing real. But that's really the struggle, because when people lose $1, it hurts like 3 times as much as the euphoria of gaining $1 in the market. So it's really when things are looking bleak. And of course, the news media just makes all of that 100 times worse because they're trying to sell copy, and bad news is great copy.
So you're saying that these negative feelings, these negative emotions lead to bad decision making? Is that where you see these mistakes start to pop up?
Yeah, and if you've been around long enough, you've heard some of these things like, "Oh, I totally lost my retirement and never recovered from 2008." Or maybe in more recent 2022. And what they're really saying to you is fear gripped them so tight and so hard that they said, "Hey, I'm grabbing the white flag, I'm coming out of the foxhole, and I'm done, I'm out." And they went into something like a savings account and never returned to the market. And that is an emotional scar that is unrecoverable. But for those that had good guidance and understood a little bit wider view of markets and trends and recoveries, they're now 3, 4, 5 times as much as that 2008 balance, that low that they were experiencing.
So emotions tend to cause people to time the market even when they're not intentionally trying to. It's not like they're trying to game the system. It's just their emotions are making them act like they're trying to game the system. And that is where they're really running afoul of solid principles for investing and financial planning.
And fear is a cruel thing to people when they actually act on it, because selling when the market's way down 30, 40% actually feels good for a moment because they know they can't lose anymore. And they kind of take comfort like it's a lovey blanket or something like that. Like, hey, I can't lose anymore. But the problem is that emotional scarring will prevent them from getting back in. And that's where the real damage happens. It's that false evidence of even feeling protected by being in cash is not really the true answer, because how are you going to get to retirement without those investments?
So what's it look like when you get professional help, whether that be with you or through another firm? You're not just a guru helping people feel better emotionally about things, right? Like, what actually does that relationship start to look like in terms of communication and how you're talking about these sorts of things and how often you're in touch? What's the benefit of working with a qualified professional like that?
Part of the benefit is being educated. Okay. And that's not in the moment. This is more of an overview, but being educated on how things happen. So we have a lot of conversation about we're going to, like, for instance, last year or this year, it looks like it's not done, but it looks like it's going to be another good year. So a lot of times we'll have a conversation about, there's a little celebration of how much we've made that's above the average that we were targeting. It's another thing that it's good for somebody to know. This portfolio is supposed to perform over 10 or 15 years at this level, right? So when we're 8% or 10% or 15% above that level, I remind them that there's going to be a year that comes in here to get us to this average. And so when we're, it's really nice when we're up 20 or 30% to kind of, for me to go, yeah, I did that. Right. But I didn't. The market did that. And it got probably overbought and ran up a little bit further than it should. So that pendulum needs to swing so we get to where really the target is right in the middle. Maybe it's a 10% return, maybe it's a 12. Through the financial planning, we'll pick those things. Some of it has to do with age, risk tolerance, all kinds of things. But it's really important for that person when things are good to remind them that the better they look this year, that means something has to swing, because it isn't just like, oh, the new norm is 20% a year. That's not the case. We don't have the portfolio to support that. So it's just that education in the good times, but then it's also preventing them from completely capitulating in the bad times and selling everything. So I do just as much work when things are going well to remind people as I do trying to save them when things are down.
And is that something that's happening? Like you have regular reviews with people. So when they're working with a professional, they should be getting that regular communication and check-ins and things like that. And then, yeah, the market's down. People are panicking. Are they calling you to say, what should I do? Or they're calling even to say, pull my money out. And you're having to talk them off the ledge a little bit.
That happens occasionally. If you're having conversations all the time and preparing them for this downturn, it happens a lot less than what you might think. That whole panic.
Gotcha.
It's more people, especially as they start to get closer to that retirement or in retirement. I just want to have a conversation so that you can let me know what's really going on here and what I should be, concerned about and not concerned about. And we set an appointment. Maybe it's a half hour, maybe it's an hour, and we just go through all of their concerns. And then after we go through them, then I give them an outlook of what the real risk is here. And through that conversation, we get them to a place where they're okay. And it's really about that relationship.
Yeah. Are there any other benefits that might not be obvious through working with a professional or versus doing something on your own?
Yes, because if you're hypersensitive, like I mentioned at the beginning, that most people, it hurts 3 times as much to lose a dollar than the euphoria of earning or gaining a dollar is. Well, if we find early on, before we have any problems, that this person is maybe 4 or 5 times it's going to affect them, we might want to implement, a strategy such as the buy line that helps with stop loss management, so we don't get into those depths. And maybe potentially there could be a little less money earned, maybe more. It depends on the year, but we can get them into strategies that we can still achieve their retirement goals, but we can soften some of that downside.
So that's where you start to see the difference and the customization that can go on from client to client, where you may say, hey, this is the appropriate amount of risk for you, but you can't stomach it because you've got X, Y, and Z going on, or this is your personality. And so to accommodate that, and so that you're not losing sleep at night, what if we do X, Y, and Z to the plan? And that's where you start to see these little pieces of customization popping in from client to client.
Yes. And from a base 401k where you're picking off of a list or getting a target date, none of it's thoughtful in any way, shape, or form in that area of really maximizing the amount of risk that someone can reasonably take and stick to the strategy. And that's where a professional can come in and really help you to find that optimization that you're really looking for.
It's clear that a professional is going to help you when it comes to preparing for retirement. But Steve, if I go and I Google, I don't know, financial advisors on the web, I'm going to get several hundreds of thousands of results to parse through and try and figure it out. So, what should people be looking for when they are seeking professional help? How do they kind of cull that list down to somebody that's going to be the proper fit for them?
This is just my lens that I would hire someone like myself. For one, I'd be looking for someone that's a CFP, which is a certified financial planner. And all that's saying is they have the expertise to put a solid plan together for my retirement or for my whatever else you're planning for financially, my business. Maybe it's, leaving a legacy, whatever it is, college planning, whatever it is you're planning for. I would look for that individual that has that accreditation. Not that someone else couldn't do it, but there's a level of competency there. Another thing that I would look for is that somebody that is your people. And there's two different elements to that. The first one is like what we do, we work inside of the plan. So we're working with people just like you every day in similar situations. Whether you're union or your management or wherever, we're working with similar people just like you every day. We understand your insurance benefits, your retirement benefits, the 401k, the match, so we don't miss anything because it's right in our swim lane. And the third piece, which is really important, and that's why I encourage people to come out to the workshops, have a conversation, because you want to say, hey, can I trust this person? Is that personality going to work with my personality? Because when you decide on someone, you don't want to get a new one every 2 or 3 years. That's probably the worst thing you can do. You want to find somebody that's in it with you for the long haul, for the next 20 years, at least.
Excellent. So look for that niche, but then also trust your gut to an extent, and look for somebody that you enjoy working with, because that's you bring up a great point. This is not a one-time relationship. That communication, that education, that's going to extend for a long time, hopefully decades of a long relationship. So make sure it's somebody you enjoy working with as well and can communicate well with. I think that's an overrated or underrated probably part of the search for working with a professional is looking for those opportunities. So excellent, Steve. And before we wrap this one up, obviously this is your show, and so we are transparent about our biases or our leanings here. And you're a certified financial planner, so you check that box. And as you said, you work with the companies very directly for all of these different publicly traded utility companies. So this puts you in a unique spot to be able to really help people in this niche, in this industry, and kind of in this world. And why did you choose to kind of make this an area that you wanted to specialize in? I think that's kind of an important final piece of the puzzle.
Well, I painted up real nice in the book, but one of the things that happened to me early on when I started out of college is the corporation I was working for. I didn't go directly into finance, but the company I was working for was a well-respected, wonderful company, treated me very well. But when it came to 401k, there was no help. And when I asked HR, they gave me a prospectus. And when I reached out to the company, they said, we don't do that. And it left me with a really not so great taste on retirement, and I didn't know where to go. And the traditional establishment, when you have $10,000 saved up in your 401k, getting someone to talk to you and really help you design and figure it out really was not available to me. So I went on a mission when I started this company and started down the financial advisor route to certified financial planner, to really provide that niche, that swim lane that's so hard to find in the marketplace today.
It's a great story of how you've gotten to where you are, and I know a lot of people have appreciated that help over the years. So once again, here you go. If you need help with your 401k, with planning for retirement, even outside accounts, and just in general, trying to get your financial life in order, whether you're in that early part of your working career or you're nearing retirement, it's all important. You're either trying to make sure that all this hard work you've done for your whole life is going to pay off as you get to retirement, or you're starting off new or still kind of in your younger working years and you want to make sure you're doing things right now that set you up for success in the future. That's what's really unique about what Steve does. He's able to help people across that entire spectrum of ages and life stages. So if you want to get more information about what it's like to work with Steve, I invite you to definitely pick up a copy of the book. Not only can you watch all of the episodes, watch Steve read the episodes here on the YouTube channel, but also you can find the audiobook version and the written version all at powerupyour401k.com. Lots of other resources for you there as well to learn about and to tap into, in ways that you can get in touch with Steve there too. That's at powerupyour401k.com. We've got that linked in the description of today's show so you can find it easily. Thank you, Steve, for walking us through this conversation today. And on the next episode, as we continue this series, we're going to be talking about choosing the right investments for your particular goals. So we'll get a little bit more into the investing side, but also talk about that customization, fitting your particular goals and what accomplishes that goal. In the meantime, have a good week, Steve, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Walt. Thanks, everyone.
That's Steve Smith. I'm Walter Storholt. We'll see you next time, right back here on Power Your Retirement.
This podcast is provided by Powerhouse Financial Advisors, an independent firm with advisory services offered through Parsonex Advisory Services, Inc., PAS, a federally registered investment advisor. The information provided is for informational and educational purposes only and should not be considered as personalized investment advice. PAS does not guarantee the accuracy, completeness, or suitability of this information for your specific circumstances. Investment decisions should be based on an individual's goals, time horizon, and risk tolerance. Past performance is not indicative of future results, and all investments carry a degree of risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any case studies, testimonials, or endorsements shared in this podcast are illustrative of individual experiences and may not be representative of the experience of all clients. They do not guarantee future performance or success. You should not infer any level of assurance regarding future financial outcomes. Listeners should consult with a qualified financial, tax, or legal professional before making any investment decisions. Parsonex Advisory Services, Inc. does not provide tax or legal advice. Be sure to consult with your tax and legal professionals regarding your specific circumstances. For a copy of our Form ADV Part 2A, which provides additional information about PAS, including our advisory fees and services, please visit powerhousefinancialadvisors.com.